a lot of conversations that I have, maybe it's my fault. They're really interested, and I always want to listen to them again. And I didn't start doing it until like probably a year and a half ago. Uh, we're live now, just in case you need to put on a filter or anything.
No, it's all right. My kids are right outside the door, and I'm wondering if they're gonna jump in on me here.
They probably will.
Yeah, kids don't have any sort of boundaries as far as that stuff goes. So we'll see. My wife put up all these like streamers in our hallway because we're having some kids over today or something, and so it's kind of difficult to get over here. So they may not jump in, but they're making a lot of noise. So.
What's a streamer? A barrier or something? What is that?
Like, I don't know if you can hear that, but
yeah.
It's like a like a streamer from like a birthday party streamer. Like those like they're like
okay. Things that they blow in. Okay.
Yeah, not blowing. They're like I don't know how to describe. It's like a toilet paper roll, but like wrinkled more and kind of sturdier.
At a high level, I think I understand.
Yeah, I used it a lot for birthdays and stuff like that, but it's supposed to be some sort of like laser thing because we're having kids over. I don't know. It's it's confusing to me. So,
do you get flashbacks of when you were a kid?
No, I don't remember having streamers set up in our hallway like lasers. So I don't have any flashbacks to that. So, but how you been?
I've been all right. I'm always thankful when someone's paying me to write code. Believe it or not, I only probably work like gainfully employed, probably like on average 4 months out the entire year.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. The rest of the time I'm usually, depending on my bank account, I'm usually just, when I'm in between assignments, I just on average put in like maybe 2 hours a day of study and practice. And then I just chill in this playground called Miami. But yeah, I mean, I've been working a contract for a little over 2 months now. Which, like, I'm a UI developer, right? I do desktop and mobile, and that stuff is starting to get on my nerves now. Like, sometimes I can't help but wonder if would I be happier and have less headaches and lose less hair if I were a backend developer instead. I feel like it would probably be less complicated. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean I'm full stack, so I don't know. There's challenges in both of them. Yeah, you definitely have less when you're dealing with the back end. You usually, depending on I suppose the contractor situation, you generally have less concern from a business entity or customer, whoever you have, on how you actually implement the thing. I've noticed that's it's less visible what the effects of your changes are, and you've got more freedom to do stuff. But yeah, I don't know. If anything, it might add if anything, it might make you more marketable just to have more back-end skills. So,
I mean, I'm not a DBA, man. I could figure out most things if it's just straight like transact SQL, hence SQL Server. But I mean, I just do very basic stuff. I just very basic database design. When it comes to like tweaking for performance or even like the whole Azure backend, yeah, I'm not there. Azure costs money to be able to play and practice, and I'm not in a position right now to shell out $2,500 for a Visual Studio Enterprise license with monthly credits. So
Yeah, I've got monthly credits through work. So I mean, because I've got an MSDN license through my job, so I got it's like $150 a month or something to play with. But and I've got some stuff hosted in Azure. But yeah, it's spendy. I have like a pretty small website that doesn't get any traffic, like, and not really storing much data. And I have it hosted in Azure, and it's like $50 a month or something like that for pretty much nothing.
That sounds more expensive than just a normal like plan. Like I haven't even visited my website's probably hacked. I haven't visited my website in like a year. But like bismugger.net, I pay like I think well no that's no I pay $34 a quarter.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know it. I mean, because maybe it's because I've got a SQL server set up. I've got a storage thing set up. I've got some app instances, and
Okay.
that I don't know why it just I'll go in there and it's like you have $95 left or something like that, and it's like how did I spend 55? I have no idea.
You're gonna have to write a service that turns it off
Yeah.
from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning.
Well, what I really should just do is migrate it over to Linode or DigitalOcean and then run my database in MySQL, and I'd probably save a bunch. But then I have to worry about server upgrades and what happens when stuff goes down and all that kind of crap. Where you don't have to do anything like that with Azure. So I mean, you got to care about what versions you're running on, but
So is it fair to say that you can stand up an Azure backend?
Um, is if I guess it depends on for what it is. If somebody came to me tomorrow and said, I have I've got a little bit of code here. I've got to start up and I just need to get going, and I need this, and this for services and things. I could probably get that set up. But if a corporation said we've got Active Directory, and we've got 50 enterprise things, and we need to set up our pipeline so that we have continuous integration to our website and continuous deployment and stuff. I'd be like, no, that's not me. You could go find someone else. So, but yeah, it just depends on it's I mean, and that the basic stuff Azure. I mean, it's all built in the Microsoft tooling, so they make it super easy to set this stuff up, at least if you're sticking within the bounds of doing Microsoft related things or standard stuff in other tool sets. So, but yeah.
I'm amazed of how quiet it got in the background. I don't hear anything anymore.
Yeah, they went upstairs. So
No.
yeah.
I have you ever attempted to generate income through the teaching um, route of software development, or has everything always been hourly rate for a client?
Mostly hourly rate. I'm actually teaching right now. I've got two classes that I'm teaching at the community college, um, in kind of app development related stuff. They had a program here for app development, and they're shutting it down because it had low enrollment. Because there's not a lot of actual demand in the area I live for software. They had low enrollment, and so but they had 3 or 4 students or 2 or 3 students that were in it that they had to kind of see through so that they could graduate. So they didn't have a professor, so I stepped in and said, okay, I'll teach their last semester so they can get whatever credentials they're looking for here. Although I think only one of them will actually get the actual the AA degree or whatever it is. So, but yeah, I'm teaching that, but that's through the college, and so it's kind of a structured. I don't think that's the same as your what you're talking about. Maybe more like Pluralsight or passive income stuff, or
Yeah, I was talking about like making money where like it scales where any interested party is going to purchase your product called a lecture or some learning module. Um,
Yeah, I've started down that track a few times thinking that that would be good, but the content creation of it and the I tend to want things to be perfect, and it's really difficult to just not sit down, commit to something, and then try to spend 3 hours just tweaking a really small aspect of it because it's not the way I want. Yeah, but
yeah, I I don't know if I don't know if you know this about me, but like I enjoy making money, and just working an hourly rate for one person, that's not going to launch me into millionaire status. And so like I keep wondering if teaching, I understand there's a lot of effort, right? I'm not trying to underestimate the effort, but I wonder if it's just something that I should just go balls deep in. Um, I'm getting a taste of it. I started last Sunday. Last Sunday was my first session because I'm in the Fsharp mentorship program,
mhm.
and so I'm mentoring this person, and I'm not sure if it's fair to say mentoring because he's already a senior developer. I'm just sharing an an alternative approach to domain driven design, and I'm really enjoying it. And he's really engaged, and so we're going through this long term code kata of building this sample backend system. And like time, I'll tell you that 60 minutes or 90 minutes goes just like that, man. We're so immersed, and it just feels good when you're on the same page with somebody in the technology that you recognize as being a good tool to solve problems with. That's less error prone. And so, to your point, you probably kind of know my style or my behavior of nothing that I put out is really polished. I would argue, except for the code that I write. But you know, like these videos, I just throw them out there. But to your point, yeah, I'm not the best person to put together like very structured modules that have like a PowerPoint type of vibe to it, where there's animations and circles and check marks that are really polished to help someone understand something. But if it comes to like just video training and sharing desktop and demoing, I honestly think I'll be awesome. I just want to have a like force multiplier, right? I want to be able to scale that into like 5 people paying me at once per session versus me just working for some corporation, and like it just doesn't scale. I don't see how people even have. I don't even understand freelancers where they have 2, 3 clients because the cognitive load for me would just be overwhelming.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I've looked at it from the uh, looked at coding lately, and I've got some ambitions too, and it's like it's a really great job to be in, but you're basically your upper limit is kind of the middle class, upper middle class level income, right? It's like this is the new source of stable blue collar work, you know, and that's great, and it's a good time to get into it, and if you want to get a job, it's awesome. Um, but it's like you said, you're not going to make the millions in it unless you happen to have a really good, like, maybe you could live off of peanuts and really save a bunch of money and just get it so that you could live off of investments or something like that. If you really buckle down for like 5 or 6 years or something, and just every dime goes into an account. I'm not in a place to do that because of my family situation. But I look at it and look at the people who are millionaires. They all basically started businesses or have a ton of content that's got recurring revenue or whatever. Um, and so I think you really have to, if you want to make a million or have a million, you've got to get into something a little more risky and creative, I guess. Um, Whether that be real estate. Real estate seems to be like everyone who's in real estate for whatever reason is either rich or broke. It's just like, you know what I mean? And then, or business. So.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of like I'm thinking in the background. Here's an example. I'm not sure how much you're affiliated with like the Fsharp community, but like there's certain people where and maybe this is the purpose of Twitch. I think this
Oh
is
yeah.
what Twitch does now that I think about it, which I really haven't really engaged in. But there's like Scott Vlashin and Mark Seaman. Those are people that I would, if they had office hours for like a 2 hour period, and I would probably pay $5 or $10, and I wouldn't mind being in a group of maybe five other people to go through an exercise together with them. So you take me and five other, or me, let's say me and four others, right? That's five times like $10, right? That's 50. And let's say it's a 2 hour straight, like open office course that they may provide, right? And like, yeah, I think that would be cool. And I wonder if Twitch offers something like that where people can pay to like do a code kata with you or just ask you questions as you're building something and they're on their computer trying to do the same thing and you're answering questions of you could swap desktop sharing to figure out what compilation errors they're getting and like I would do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you
Twitch,
know if
Twitch.
anything like that exists?
Well,
Else, I think it would be cool for me to build a platform. Of course, I hope there is a platform as a service for the whole like video streaming thing and desktop sharing because I don't want to build that.
yeah, the Twitch is more about, active live streaming. And usually there you get paid by having somebody subscribe to you, um, which they can follow you is one thing, but subscribing, they're actually paying a monthly fee to you, like a $5 a month or something type thing. And then they have these things called, I believe they're called bits, and it's kind of like tips. Like you can tip people as they're doing their streaming. So it's not so much a closed session type thing. It's always open, and people drop in, and if you're doing enough interesting things and you're doing it consistently, people make a living off of it, especially gamers. I don't know if anybody who's coding is making a living off of it right now, but I'm assuming that will, like, they have to have a mix of things. Usually you have gamers and coders, but you could do that with Zoom though, if you just set up some sort of landing page and then, hey, we're going to do this, and you try to get people, and then use Zoom or some sort of conference share, even Hangouts you could use to do it. Um, but the tricky part is getting people interested, right?
Well, it takes a certain demographic.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if demographic is the right term. It takes a very, very niche set of people. And so for like people that are like just very curious by nature and they're on their little journey of whatever technology, like honestly, I don't have a problem probably spending. I definitely don't have a problem spending $30 a month on like probably 1 hour. How do I say this? If there's 4 weekends in a month, I don't have an issue spending, maybe $35 a month um, being able to have a one-on-one or even a 4-on-1 session with someone that I very, very much admire. Like, I don't have an issue with that. So it's kind of like a miniature online classroom, right? In which these people can make some money. And I just threw out 5 members, just because I think it would be hard for me to be acknowledged if I was in something larger, especially if I wanted to be interactive. And with the emphasis on interactive, my desktop, their desktop, and we just keep swapping back and forth. I don't know. I'll entertain the idea. I know it'll be hell to build. Like
Yeah.
the low level, like, I mean, you said Zoom, which I'm not familiar with, and then you said Hangouts. If they if there a way that they could provide that as a service, and then I could write a shell that had the control to display and accept requests based on backend like services for like payments and stuff like that, that would be awesome. I just don't want to spend more than like 2 months writing it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the video streaming is actually that difficult. You grab a
Really?
you grab a website and you throw, or not a website, a webcam. You throw it up to a WebSocket and then broadcast it out, to other people. Actually, there might even be a service for it. There's a guy named, I think his name is Matt Kramer. I followed for a while, and he had something about building a product in a weekend or whatever, but he had this thing that was like called, I think it was like Cobra IO or something like that. And it was exactly kind of what you were saying, but it had a video streaming aspect of it and a code sharing aspect of it and stuff like that. I think. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine grabbing a webcam and popping it up on somebody else's screen somewhere would actually take more than a couple days to figure out. To perfect it and to make it, scalable, that's one thing, but to just get it working for a small audience, it's not a big deal. But you're talking about like a coaching platform, and I'm probably like 80% sure that every problem for coaching platforms has been, there's something out there for it. Just because so many people do coaching, for other things other than just software development. Maybe there's not one where you have coaching plus, like code share or something like that, but there's obviously screen share. I mean, you could use WebEx to do those kinds of things.
Isn't that
Yeah. It's Cisco.
That's not Cisco, is it?
Yeah.
What's the company down here in Florida? I can't stand them. I can't remember their name. They provide like, I guess they provide like video software development tools. I can't remember. Anyways, I know it'll come up as soon as I hang up or end this session.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's I guess
Citrix.
Oh, Citrix, yeah.
I don't like them. I had an interview with them and it pissed me off.
Well, I mean, there's 3 or 4 different video share things we've talked about right there. Skype is always, even, that alone just works too. Could be anything, but yeah, I don't think it's so much the technology. It's not a technology problem. It's more of a, getting people who are mentors and willing to do the time and then marketing and finding them clients and stuff like that. And now your interest in it is to build out a platform for them to do it.
No, I'm not interested in building anything. I just want to make money.
Yeah. Well, you got to provide value to people, right? That's how you make money. So
through answering questions and demoing a certain idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to build software. I don't want to build a platform to do that, especially during my day job. While I have a day job, I just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Have you thought about trying to do live streaming on Twitch to see if you could get a following there? There's some of the coding has come up, but it's not as big as the gaming thing.
I think I have an account because I'll watch this one Fsharp guy, write code. It was pretty much the same style that I had with me live streaming when I'm building some like little demo application. But the thing is I don't really know him personally, and I could be wrong, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I feel like he would probably be more of a peer to me than someone that is a master that I would be paying to learn from to learn specific techniques. Only because I mean I've been working almost for 15 years, and I read a lot and I consume a lot of content via audiobooks or anything. So like, but the people that are like at the top of their game, that they know that 20%, 10% that I'm completely ignorant of, that's what I'm after. Right? Whatever I could do to be a leap ahead of my competition and to hopefully be able to demonstrate it so I make money and they recognize that I'm ahead of them. They recognize that if they're really interested in truly being a business that is competitive and can adapt in the marketplace, then like I want them to be like, yo, Scott, he emphasizes, test automation. He emphasizes domain driven design. He emphasizes like everything that we would like to aspire to really be able to get in, make a difference without being slowed down with tech support calls or developers that have to be told instead of wanting to do it. And that's what I'm after, man. It's kind of like a unicorn within itself. Like, yeah, I'm sure your Googles, um, maybe Microsofts, and all these very high performing organizations. Um, they're the ideal employers, but I can't get past their interviews. But I want an employer like that really, instead of like looking for anybody that knows how to code, like they're looking for someone that they agree with their philosophy of how they should code, how they should deliver, and how they should sustain a project so that it gets past version one. And believe it or not, the majority of shops, they just lowest bidder, whether it's Ukraine or India. So
Yeah, well, that's because they're making trying to make money, and they don't see it. They don't think about it strategically. They're thinking about tactical quarters and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, the but you're still talking about being an employee then, as far as and I don't see it. I like high paid productized consulting. Maybe you can make really good money, um, but just you know an employee or a general contractor, like I can't unless you have a really good saving and investment strategy behind you, and in constant work and are living off of ramen for a couple years. Like I don't see how you become a millionaire like that. The numbers don't add up in my world. So
uh, yeah, I agree. All right, so you spoke at conferences, right? Once or
yep,
twice.
twice, yeah.
What's the lifestyle of a serial conference speaker?
No, well, not my lifestyle, but I'm not. I've talked with some people about this. I don't know how they do it because I have to be in the office most of my week, so I got to take vacation to go to speak at a conference.
Yeah, but I'm talking about these people get invited to speak, like Dan North and
Yeah, they start at the bottom and they build up a following by hitting a lot of them. Um, and other diverse things. I think of like Corey House, for instance, who he started small and started speaking at I think Kansas City, and now he's speaking all over, and he gets the big rooms when he talks. But he's done a lot of conferences and to be a serial speaker, you kind of have to be a serial speaker, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess my question is more towards, do they make more money than you and I? And I mean, the question is probably yeah, because they're probably sought out versus being applicants. People probably find them instead of them trying to find people, or shall I say companies. That's my guess. But like, is there a huge difference in income between them and us? Or is it pretty much the same? It's just they enjoy teaching and every once in a while working on a project at a higher rate. Like, I'll give you a prime example, and hopefully he doesn't give me a hard time. Michael Feathers. I think I know him better than most people would realize. Um, and he speaks a lot at conferences. Um, trying to make sure I keep my filter on, but I'm not confident if the floodgates really open up in regards to like the type of people that are billing at. I'll use a better example, but still somewhat related. Like John Samas, he had a couple of videos where he would talk about how he bills at like $300 an hour or whatever. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The question is, okay, for people that have no notoriety, for lack of a better term, how often do they sustain that type of bill rate? Essentially,
I don't think John Sonmez did. I think if you listen to his $300 a rate thing was like that was given all of his other things. He was saying I'd have to be billed at this amount to actually make it worth my while. But he never. I don't know if he ever got engagements, or if he did, they were very very short. Yeah, you know.
he
But
said he has.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, but very short.
yeah.
Arrangements, and it's mostly because of his Pluralsight stuff, right? But John didn't. Well, he eventually made more millions off of Pluralsight because he was early bird into that, and he pumped out just so many of them. But I mean, he got his financial independence out of real estate. Um, not
Did
not
he? Because I thought he made like 400,000 off of the Pluralsight
Oh
stuff.
yeah, he made like millions off of Pluralsight, but he was already financially independent based off of his. He didn't have to based off of his real estate investments. If
Okay.
you look at his history, so at least that's my understanding of it. Listening to a lot of his stuff is that he started out young with a lot of real estate stuff, became financially independent through that, while also building out a lot of stuff for Pluralsight, and then basically because he produced like 40 some videos in a year, he was just pumping them out like mad. And he was early on that platform, so there was a huge audience for everything he was doing, so he just basically just raked it in. But that just compounded on a base that he already had there. I don't know specifically if he had to hold down a full-time job while doing real estate and while doing Pluralsight courses. I have no idea, um, but yeah, but I think his bill at $300 an hour rate was like, you must really really want me, and I don't think he got very many of them, and they're not certainly not sustainable. You talked about Michael Feathers and stuff like that. Well, he writes the books on things, right? And he's gained notoriety. Uncle Bob would probably charges well, I think he does charge like $100,000 to do a speaking engagement at a large corporation. And if they're willing to pay, they'll pay him. um, but that's peanuts for a large organization if you think about it. Um,
Mm, if it's peanuts for a large organization, then why are they? It's a different subject, but maybe it's time to wrap up the subject anyway. Why are they? I've worked at a number of organizations. I'm just going to be real, where the entire floor was basically imported from India, like the entire IT, right? I'll spit out names. When I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers in Tampa, when I worked at FedEx in Pittsburgh, and so I say all this because these big companies that make billions of dollars a year. I'm not sure if, well, PricewaterhouseCoopers probably does. Um,
Yeah.
they do care about profit because it's about reducing expenses. So it's kind of weird. Like I don't really understand. You'll trip over the hourly rate of a quote unquote blue collar programmer, right? I might be bidding at $95 an hour, but you hire someone at $50 an hour. Um, but then you're more than happy to write a $10,000 check for someone to do a 2 hour engagement with your developers. Like it's just interesting how companies can. It's another example because I'm from Ohio. I remember when Progressive had laid off like a large amount of their workforce. I thought it was between 7 and I think it was like maybe 7%, which I think is large of their workforce. And then within a couple months, they purchased for $20 million the baseball stadium. They called it Progressive Field, right? So, make a long story short, like I don't know how to graduate from someone that gets paid by the hour versus someone that gets paid by the engagement. And it seems like people that handle engagements, I feel like it's a lot more profitable than people that are just mundane workers that have a regularly scheduled routine. I'm not sure how to articulate that the way that I want, but hopefully you kind of see what I'm getting to, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's how do you become like an Uncle Bob or a, you know, John Sanders sort of. Although he's totally changed the way he operates now. But
How do you become an outlier when it's more than just what you write, how you write your code? Like, for example, this might be my ego, but I've worked at enough companies where I really think I'm an outlier based on how I produce software and how I compare it to my peers when I'm working at a given company. Now that may not be reality, but that's my reality. Okay, but um, they're not getting paid hella money to write code. They're getting paid hella money to tell stories. They're getting paid hella money to quote unquote influence people in the interest of the company. And I'm just not sure how to graduate to that. I mean, yeah, I guess
yeah,
that's just something I have to figure out on my own.
well, I mean, I
They're
think
outliers. I didn't even cut you off. They're more than just outliers when it comes to writing code. Like these people, they're like celebrities, right? And I think it has nothing to do with. Have you ever seen John Simez's code?
no, not
Have you
really.
ever seen it? Have you ever seen Uncle Bob's code?
I've seen him code, but not. I haven't looked at. Well, I've. I shouldn't say that. I've seen him live code, and I've was it finesse or something like that, or
Yeah.
fitness or something like that. I've taken a gander at it once because I was curious, but
Have you
um,
ever seen their GitHub?
no. But yeah,
Neither have I.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing is it's all kind of like a marketing thing, right? They've marketed themselves. They've gone out and done a bunch of stuff, and they keep doing more stuff and delivering value to people. And they might not be they might not be great developers really when you sit down and code with them. They're just really really good at
Social.
conveying, yeah, and giving ideas to people and stuff like that. So it's um, I think there are some people who are really do have the chops and stuff like that, but um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much they're getting paid too. Some of them get paid by their companies to do speaking, I suppose. Some of them are allowed by their companies because it gives them good press and they can use it as either recruitment tools or whatever. A lot of them are independent contractors and they're looking for people to this is how they get jobs is they go and speak a lot. And then, somebody's like, oh, I have this problem, and okay, let's talk after this, and give them a card, and then they'll go and work on an engagement there or whatever for a couple weeks. Like it's just a big, marketing show, really.
Yeah.
While sharing information and stuff like that. I don't know. It's like I've thought about that a bit too, and how do you get there? Um, and I guess it's just grinding, maybe. But I don't know if they're making what you'd want. You'd have to keep grinding. I don't think if these people just stopped one day that they would be rolling in it still. You know what I mean? If they are at all right now. So
I guess the only millionaires are probably the ones working in Wall Street that are writing these trading systems.
no, no, man, the
You don't think
millionaire.
so?
There's people that in this small town that I live, they pump shit out of septic tanks, and they're millionaires.
Well, I was talking about millionaire programmers
Oh, programmers. Yeah, I don't think there are.
writing trading applications.
I don't think there are. There's programmers who have become millionaires, and there's millionaires who might like programming, but there's no. I don't think there's any millionaire people who are programmers.
Yeah, there's no like. I still have yet to read the book Developer Hegemony. I think that's the name of it. If there
Yeah,
is an audio book, I'll just buy it. I don't
there might
like
be now.
stopping everything that I'm doing to read a page, and I have to suspend everything. I have to suspend riding. I have to suspend lifting weights. I have to suspend everything so I can turn a page of a book. Like, yo, we need to hurry up and evolve. But I was going to say, I already lost my train of thought already. Oh, so you have like millionaire realtors, right? You have millionaire lawyers. And there's probably a couple other industries where like people where one person is making 35, 40,000 a year. You have this Mongol, for lack of a better term, that's killing it, right? Is there not an example in our industry of you have all these peasant developers, but then you have a handful that are just they just influence the industry, and they're just killing it, right? Like, how do I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I'm
it's the
sure
same
I'm talking
model
to
as
you like you're there already, but like, how do you go from putting in your time for 10, 15 years to owning your own firm and like you're killing it, right? And it's just I just don't see that in this industry, at least not enough.
well, yeah, because you're talking about you're ta- you're talking about two different things, right? In one, you start as a programmer and you do the programming and you're a programmer, and in another, you're a business owner that's basically supplying labor to other businesses, right? And you could do that if you're a coder or not. But I mean, you think about like the model he talks about, or you're talking about, is like the same as CPA firms and lawyers and stuff like that, where you've got a couple people who are the partners, right? And they do they're brought in for like the final thing or whatever, and then they've got a bunch of people that they basically just manage who are doing the actual work, right? And
Yeah.
they're there for like the big decisions, and they're dealing with people at the executive level. They're not generally doing the coding from day to day. At least they might at the start. But I worked for a contracting firm in Duluth here a couple of years ago, and that's effectively how they were set up. Is they had one person started on a contract with some person, and then they expanded to adding some more developers under their contract or under their business thing, and then they added more and more, and then they met up with someone else who had something very similar, and they merged, and they developed a partnership, and now they've got 4 or 5 people who are basically at the partner, or 2 or 3 people who are basically at the partner level, who are the owners effectively. And then you've got managers and program managers type people, and then you've got a bunch of developers, and their product, they spend most of the time just talking at the strategic and tactical level and the business level with the executives who are buying stuff, not doing coding. Like I said, I don't think there's like I said, there's people that own businesses that were coders, that coding got them or enabled them to get there. But I don't think that they're doing active development unless it's hobbyist type stuff, or unless they've hit like a jackpot on something they've made, like a game developer. Like that could happen. Like you make one per game and it's really, a hit, and suddenly you're raking in a bunch of money at a time, or an app developer of some sort. But most of that gold rush stuff is over. It would be I mean, they're still there, but it's unicorns, right? It's you could work your whole life and never have a hit, and somebody could start tomorrow and have a hit next week. It's like, yeah. So how you get there, I don't know, but I'm looking at the field myself, because I want money to not too. Actually, I don't really want money. Is what I want is some autonomy, yeah, and freedom and stuff like that. And so I'm looking at the field and saying, there's literally, I don't think there's anything I could do as an employee that's going to make me more money than what I'm making here. At least not enough to change my life, right? Or if I do, it's gonna require a lot more of my time and less autonomy. So, I think getting into a business or starting one is or investing is the other strategy. If you've got capital, or you can, take time and put it away, that's the only way. you gotta get into the place where you're, you're providing value to people, but you're not spending your time doing it. Yeah.
Residuals.
Yeah, or I mean, you've multiplied your effect by a lot, right? You could make one decision, and that decision could have millions of dollars of impact based on your organization that you've built. So
I read a book. I'm not sure if it's a book or a podcast. I don't know, something. It really had. I never really considered it, but I think it was Jamie Edwards. You familiar with him? Healthy developer. I might have butchered his name. He says something to the extent of, there's various types of software shops. Some are about, and I'm paraphrasing, but most are about making money. And when you work there, you'll understand that based on the culture. But then he says that there's few that are focused on making a difference or making an impact. And some people start their companies, or most people start their companies to make money, right? Including myself. But then you have some people that probably have a higher probability of success because they legitimately start a new business to make a difference and to make an impact. And there's more passion focused on how they do things versus the outcome, or versus the near-term effects. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but sometimes I think maybe I should just change my mentality of kind of like what you're saying, focus on help, instead of me, and how. You know what I mean?
So, yeah. A pretty decent book. Do you know who MJ DeMarco is?
No, it sounds familiar, but no.
So he wrote this book called Millionaire Fastlane, and it sounds like a sleazy fly-by-night, book, whatever. But it's actually a really, really good read, and his authorship and narrative is entertaining too, because he's kind of like this, no bullshit kind of a dude. But he wrote a follow-up book called Unscripted, and in there, he basically talks about the kind of attitude that you have to make it in business and stuff like that. And I think if you read that book, like, it would probably jive with you in a way that it did with me too. But the thing I wanted to get at is he talks about people that come in and say, oh, I just want to make money, and I want to make we're going to make money and it's going to be money, and how this fixation on money. And he's like, that's just the wrong mentality you have to have. It's not right. People come in, they talk about money, but they never once talk about value and what kind of value they're going to deliver. And that's maybe what you're talking about with the people want to make a difference. Well, they want to provide value to people. And if it turns out that, they can do it and make money on it, it's great. So my current venture and what I'm trying to get into is making like a print on demand type service for game developers in the hobbyist space, or maybe like indie space, where they can go on and get like a physical printout, a one-off physical printout of a game that they've developed for the purposes of displaying on their shelf, or maybe for like small trade shows and stuff like that, if they're trying to market it or whatever. But I really think that this is something that developers like add value to their lives, because they spend all this time on these games, and they're too to have no physical manifestation of them to share with people or to talk about or to hold in their hands. It's like, I think there's value there that I could deliver on that if I can figure out the stuff. But yeah, a focus on value is kind of, I think, what you have to start with, and how can I provide value to people? And if you do, money will just come. That's a side effect of it.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you got to, be smart about it. But yeah, you should. There's an audiobook for that one, for Unscripted and Millionaire Fastlane. I thought Unscripted was a better book. But you should listen to that one. He's got this great chapter in there too, where he does an entire narrative about somebody who wakes up and goes to work, and then like, and how just god awful the day is for, driving and then working, and he gets home and, he drinks a bottle of whatever and passes out on the couch and wakes up the next day. If you listen to the audiobook, the guy who narrates it is just phenomenal in the way he reads that chapter. But think about the stuff with we talk about the developers who are grinding away on stuff. He also gives this metaphor in the book about gumball machines, and like, sitting back, and if you're in this kind of what he calls the slow lane mentality, you're kind of sitting back and you've got a gumball machine in front of you, a big gumball machine. And in there's a whole bunch of these like red gumballs and white gumballs and gold gumballs and stuff like that. And like, red gumballs like represent the like big bad events that happen, like a bankruptcy or something like that, or just catastrophic crap. And then there's like gold gumballs, and those represent, the making the big money or whatever, right? And then there's white ones, which are just kind of like nondescript events. But he goes into this whole thing about, if you're in the slow lane, you've got basically a giant gumball machine with like just a whole bunch of white gumballs in it. And if you turn, pretty much you're always going to get the same crap over and over again. That's just being in a job and not caring about, not trying new things. And occasionally, if you might hit a red gumball and, be totally screwed because you haven't prepared for it or whatever. But if you change your dynamic and switch it so that you're in a place where you've got, this gumball machine with a lot of potential gold ones, which are trying things like businesses and stuff like that. Like, you may not get your first hit. You may get a red gumball, but it's just a matter of time. If you keep turning that crank, you're going to hit a gold gumball eventually. So he talks about just if you change your attitude and the way you look at these things and what you're focused on, and change it to this mindset of delivering value, you've modified the composition of your gumball machine such that you might not get it the first 3, 4, 5 times you go through, but eventually it's likely you're going to hit something. So I don't know. It's a good book. He also was big into Lamborghinis too. So and that was kind of when he was a kid. He's like, I want to own a Lamborghini, and then like I don't know. I thought of your motorbikes and stuff like that.
I'm actually debating buying a new bike. I think I made the wise decision of just investing that money instead. So, but
Yeah, you should check out that book though, Unscripted. It was it's kind of a long thing, but the audiobook is really good and um yeah, he gives some practical advice on directions you can take and stuff like that with it. If nothing else, it's kind of motivating and it gives the whole entrepreneurial uh thing. He also rags a lot on like 401k plans and normal investment routes. Like
yeah, I kind of agree with that stuff too.
hey, basically it's like work for 40 years and put it into your 401k and you'll gain compound interest and by the time you're sick and old and nearly dead, you can actually live like a millionaire.
If you even get there.
Yeah, yeah, if you get there. Yeah.
My father died at 43. Um, People drop dead left and right. You know what I mean? Things aren't guaranteed. And
Yeah.
then you take into consideration ethnicity is very important in regards to genetics and what people are prone to when it
Yeah.
comes to diseases or uh, elements or conditions. Like we're a society that we just want to be told what to do without thinking, hence religion. But anyways, I'm not going to hold you. I think we have amazing conversations, man. I really do, and I'm glad that I
Fun.
record this stuff. Um, Last like 2 minutes, has there been any updates in regards to like programming or software development? Are you learning anything new, or are you suspending
Um,
something that you used to think was important but is no longer relevant based on where you're going in life?
I've taken much more interest in UI design lately, UX design, just within the last few like weeks and stuff like that. Um, like I really really care about the way things look and feel when I'm using an application, and it drives me nuts that like we've got an application right now we're working on for a client, and a lot of stuff in the UI is in disarray, and I just like I can't stand it. I just want things to be you know beautiful and work, and if somebody else can design it and I can make that happen, um, great. But yeah, I wish that more people cared about how things just like, have you ever just written software and it feels right or wrong? You know?
Every time at the very beginning.
But well, like, or like you've used a user interface and it's like this, there's something, I don't know what about it. It's got a quality. It's what's called like the unnamed
Hold on. Did you say
quality or
write
whatever.
or use?
Use.
Oh, I thought you said, do I have I ever wrote software that just felt right? And I said every time at the very beginning of the project, everything is
Yeah.
clean. No, there's a couple. I think Dave Rell asked examples of software that is just gorgeous to use, and I said Google Maps, Google Maps. I would also argue Uber. Uh, they're both in the map space,
Mhm.
and I would also say like Microsoft Word. I mean, those are probably geeky term or geeky examples, but like the stuff just works. And Microsoft Word has a whole bunch of crap in it, and I only use 5%,
Yeah.
but it just works.
Yeah. My answer to that was workflowy. I don't know if you've ever used that tool, but
No,
it's kind of like you build out lists, but it's the way that you tab things and untab things and move stuff around and stuff like that is super intuitive. It feels right. It just always feels right. It doesn't. There's never a moment where I've used it where I'm like, well, that wasn't what I expected to happen there. Um,
no. An
but
app that I'm disappointed in that I think could be done better, and I'm just not a fan of it. But it's like the de facto standard when working remote is Slack, and maybe it's my browser. The something very when the main feature of an application just isn't polished and it's the main feature, like it's the core of why you use the application, then like there's an issue, right? And so maybe it's the Edge browser because I haven't tested it on like Chrome, but like when I put the cursor in the middle of a sentence of a message that I'm typing out, the cursor never shows up. It'll show, it'll still like, instead of it showing up in the middle of the sentence, it'll still be at the end of the sentence. And as I type in characters, characters will magically show up in the middle of the sentence, even though the cursor's at the end. And like that just,
Yeah, it's got to be an Edge thing because I've got Slack open right now, and I never have problems with that. And I've got the desktop app running, but that's built on Chromium. So I mean, it's built on Electron. So
Edge is, I would say, a major player in the browsers, and it should just work.
yeah,
Oh,
well, yeah, but they're going to be shutting down Edge eventually. You're right.
did it just start? I swear it's only been out for like maybe 3 years.
Well, Microsoft's throwing the towel in on the browser game. They're building a Chromium-based browser. This is what they're going to be doing. Didn't you catch that news?
No.
Yeah, they're going to be building a Chromium-based browser here in the near future. So they're throwing the towel in Firefox and Chrome. They just don't want to keep up with it.
What's Chromium?
Chromium is the open source part of Chrome, like the underlying thing. It's what Electron is built on too. It's the rendering engine. So it's like Chrome's rendering engine without all of the browser features that are in Chrome. You know.
Okay.
So Electron is built using that and Node. And so it's if you write code for Chrome, you're basically writing code that works in Electron too. So, but I don't know, software just in general, to answer your question, like I don't know. I'm just like, I had gotten into functional a little bit for a while and I got heavy into it, just as far as what I could practically do with it in C#. I haven't made the jump to any other language yet, but yeah, but I just like, I don't know. I'm just getting more and more tired of writing it code. just in general,
Okay.
it's like once you've solved enough problems, it's like, I don't know, just pulling bits from a database and throwing it up on a page and putting bits back in a database, like, and everything in between. Like, I don't know. It's just getting repetitive, maybe. I don't know.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the short-term request to talk, and yeah, it's been real.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I enjoy talking to you, and it's my a little birthday present for me in the morning here. So
Yeah, I just had my birthday last week.
oh, cool. There's a lot of February birthdays.
Yeah, my job didn't know, but I was in Cancun the entire time at a resort.
Well, I get to spend mine today with my wife. Scheduled her friends to come over, so I'm the morning is mine, and then the afternoon is going to be just So
celebrate your birthday in Miami, man. Pop bottles.
maybe once I've made my millions,
I'm
I'll
gonna
come
get you down here. I'm gonna get you down here. So you're gonna be a douchebag like all the other people down here, renting Ferraris and Lamborghinis, acting like it's yours. And
Nah. That'll happen when I get you up in Minnesota in the middle of winter, and we'll go out on a snowmobile and pop bottles at the local lodges. No,
Indian reservation. I might be up there. When is I promise I'm letting you go. But when is NDC Minnesota or whatever it's called?
May was it 9th? I think maybe May 18th. I don't know. Sometime in May.
I may I may check it out. The only concern is someone named Dustin tweeted that NDC is now nothing but marketing for vendors, which I hope isn't accurate. I went like 3 years ago in London. But yeah, if it's depending on the curriculum, I might go up there. So,
Cool. Yeah. Well, we could meet up if you do. So
all right, Sean,
I have to drive down to the cities, but yep. All right.
take care. Tell your kids I said sorry for taking you away from their birthday or whatever, not birthday, sleepover, whatever it was. All right.
Yeah, it's my birthday. So
Yeah. All right. See you. Bye.
all right, see you, bye.